Welcome, Low Ego Action Heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full-service CX and UX consultancy, and today is October 1st, 2021. Can't believe that. And it is time for what we do every Friday, which is the reaction stream. Deb reacts to wacky stuff you've sent in, and I think we have 8 or 9 things that people sent in this week, so we'll take a look at them in no particular order. Let's see. Okay, just getting some of my buttons ready here and making sure I don't press the wrong things. First, let me just start out with the usual stuff and just remind everybody, please subscribe here on YouTube. And if you enjoy the shows, please find a few people to tell about the shows and the micro lessons and all the fun stuff we do here. Please give the video a thumbs up and leave some comments after it's over. And of course, you can join our Slack workspace completely free. deltacx.link/join Slack. The tip jar on this side is completely optional but always appreciated. I reinvested in the show, and I eat delicious chocolate chips. Thanks to all of you. And speaking of thanking all of you, we do have paid subscribers here on YouTube, and we've got our junior, mid-level, and senior low ego action heroes. Thanks to everybody who donates to the channel. I don't do it for the money, but I appreciate everybody who donates even just a few dollars. Again, totally optional. So let's quickly thank our mid-level and higher low ego action heroes: Anita, Chang, Darren, Irena, Jordan, Michelle, Nikki, Ralitza, Ray, and Solomon. Thanks to everybody who makes this possible. So let's take a look at what we're reacting to this week. Let me get my window up and we'll flip over. How about this window? Hope that looks good. Let's check. Yep, good. Okay, so I've got the chat room cooking here. I've got the tip jar, and I've got whatever you've sent in. And first, we've got a tweet from someone I don't think I know, named Julie. Julie is a verified account, so she's somebody, I guess. She's 27,000 followers, so I guess she's somebody. Congratulations, Julie. I don't know her, so no opinion either way. And she writes, I think we need a few more articles about the differences between UX designers and product designers just to make sure we all stay confused. Yeah, you know, I'm not a fan of any of those articles, and I've never agreed with pretty much any of them, so I feel ya. I think the person who sent this in said, oh, check out all of the comments on this tweet. It's wild. So I was scrolling through this earlier, and it didn't seem that wild. Maybe I missed something, but one of them used sticky notes a lot, not sure which. Super comment. New name on the block. Sure. UI, UX, UX, UI. What do I do? What do you do? Yes. There was one, I scrolled down a little bit. Product design is a subset of UX. UI, UX encompasses too many things. Yeah, again, and then this person said, you've confused me. Yeah, you know, this is one of those things that nobody agrees on. Hi, Darren. It's almost like the definition of design thinking. This tweet caught my eye. This person said, literally had this discussion in a UX design community and claimed very naively that product design considers the business case a bit more than a pure UX designer would have to. RIP my notifications, they did not take it well. I mean, yes, I can see why they would not take it well, maybe because it's not true. Mostly I've seen product designers be visual designers who like to use Figma and wireframe. I'm not sure they're considering the business case more, and I think everybody anybody working in UX research, design, content strategy, whatever you're doing in CX or UX, you've got to consider the business case. We can't not consider the business case. Yes, we're mostly focused on users and customers. Hi, Destiny. But it's not like we're ignoring what's happening in the business. So I never understand those articles that try to make it sound like, well, product designers are thinking about the business case more because they're from product. And I'm thinking, look, once you're in charge of designing or architecting or whatever, hi Glenn, whatever our users or customers are going to be stuck with, we've got to consider both. The question is, how does your Venn diagram overlap? If this is the product and these are the customers, is it this? Did we consider the business case so well that we didn't build what the customers need? Does the product meet the customer's needs? And now our Venn diagram overlaps? It should be a single overlapping circle. We shouldn't have any product that isn't right for our users or customers, and we shouldn't have any needs the customers have that aren't being met by the product. That's money being left on the table and probably customer dissatisfaction. So I wouldn't say I found these wild, but the old product designers only think about the business. I don't get that one either. And again, I encourage everyone to be considering whatever the business is and needs as well. It doesn't mean that we always choose what the business needs over users and customers, but we certainly have to be aware of it and considering it. This is supposedly why you're having all those meetings with stakeholders. All right, moving on. Welcome to Instagram. UX swipe. Is that like swipe away from this? So I don't know this account. I don't follow this account. Glenn says, seems like everyone has their own opinion or definition of this industry. Yep, I agree, Glenn. It's like, again, design thinking, reminds me of that. Actually, what really reminds me of that, I put it down here. Some of you have seen me pull this out before. This was my license plate in 2011, UX UI. This was back when UX meant UX and UI meant people who work scientifically on user interfaces. Then all of a sudden it meant visual designers making wireframes. So funny enough, I started calling myself a product designer. And then product design meant visual designers making wireframes. Now I just like to say, what did we come up with when we did that brainstorm? Now I'm a strategic strategy strategist. Let's just go with that. Yay! Strategic strategy strategist. All right, so let's take a look. UX Swipe says emotional design. You know it's going to be good. Do you ever wonder why cheap wine tastes better in fancy glasses? I'm not saying it does, but perhaps some people believe it does. Probably some sort of placebo effect. Sales of Macintosh computers soared when they introduced the colorful iMac. So this sounds like correlation and causation, that, if sales of the new iMac soared because they came in colors, it must be the colors. I'm sure the colors helped, but are we sure there's causation there and not just correlation? Emotion and cognition show attractive things really do work better. Well, I think this is probably poorly written. They probably don't function better, but they might be more desirable by certain types of users. Now, I always describe myself, for example, just to be selfish a moment, I describe myself as function over form. I'm very happy to wear something that is probably ugly if it is usable. Gosh, look at my shirt. Today I am wearing a men's Hanes undershirt. I have like a zillion of these, and that's mostly what I wear when y'all aren't looking. So and they last forever. They're just awesome. And all of mine are covered in dog footprints and blood and, who cares? So that's me. Jason says, cheap wine and good glasses. Jason, I cannot watch that YouTube link while I'm doing a YouTube show. Can you give me the short version, please? Glenn says, my next role, I want to be CX, UX, FX, TX, T-Rex Design Solutions Architect. Glenn, I love it. Everybody look at that. So I'm sure that there are certainly people for whom attractiveness wins over function. That's fine. And they're talking about emotional design to trigger a positive emotional response from the users. And remember, the user sounds like a big bucket. You're going to have a bell curve of users, so it's still best to use proper research to get to know them. They're not all going to be the same, do the same thing, play the same roles, have the same tasks. Emotional design has a strong influence on designs of websites or applications for better and more delightful UX. Sure, where's the emotional design when I can't stop getting pop-ups about joining the mailing list? Those are some negative emotions. Anybody want to put some emotional design into that and take those pop-ups away, please? Designers aim to reach users on cognitive levels, visceral, behavioral, and reflective. Yeah, I tend to focus more on the behavioral, but again, I'm not saying any of this is bad or wrong. We just want to make sure we're using whatever this is, we have to use it for good. We don't want to use it like Facebook to make people depressed or whatever. Emotional design will appeal to designers and manufacturers, but also to managers, psychologists, and readers who like to think about stuff. Okay? And join us, whatever that is. Join the Bond Army. What is that? All right, I don't know what that is. So in general, emotional design is certainly a thing. We certainly do want to adjust for people's behaviors, but we also have to remember that we do have different types of users with different levels of savviness, with different needs and tasks and motivations, and we want to make sure we design for all of them, or as many of them as our target customers might be. Attractive things are attractive. I think that's just a reflexive property there. Desirable things are desirable. So, make things how people want them. I think that's the best way for me to say that. Oh, wow, look at all these pop-ups, y'all. This is dscout.com. Definitely hashtag not sponsored on that one. Gosh, will we ever make it to the article with all of these pop-ups? The website uses cookies. Okay, no cookies. Do I want a copy of our report on how user research is moving to the next normal after COVID impacts? How many of you want to bet that I have to put in my email address to get that report? We'd love to talk with you. We'll store your personal information, we'll send you emails, and we may send you emails. No, that's not okay. So then I can't continue with anything. Look at this. I can't write to these people, and I certainly don't get the free thing. No free thing for you. And these people are going to tell me about UX? I tell you, I've decided to stop trying to do business or have business relationships with some of these UX-related companies that say UX and then don't walk the walk. So done. So done. Rajesh says, I think no one's a master in UX. It's a long evolving journey for anyone. I would agree. No, I don't want to be on your mailing list. All right, so finally we're getting to the article. This says, from one-to-one to one-to-many, humans, artifacts, and ecosystems thinking. So just in case you were worried that we didn't have enough thinking things, design thinking, systems thinking, other things. Now we have ecosystems thinking because everybody's got to pee on something and come up with their own name for things that probably already exist. So I scrolled down through this a little bit before, and when we got to ecosystems thinking, their idea was that you're on a train and a guy is talking on his cell phone and he's talking really loud. And now everybody who has to listen to this guy talking on his cell phone really loud is having a product experience. But we wouldn't think of that as a user experience because we designed it for that one guy. So how would you design a cell phone differently to account for a rude guy who's going to answer a call on a train? And what if that call is important? He shouldn't do it? I mean, I don't get it. Long story short, I skimmed this a little bit. I kind of couldn't stand to read it, but it just seemed like somebody is trying to redefine it because they don't like the word user and they don't like the word user experience because user experience is going to overlook these externalities. So again, this sounds like a case, and I think this is a common cognitive bias, where someone has decided that they don't like the definition of user experience, so therefore user experience does not cover whatever they think it is, and they have to come up with a new term. I assume the book and training already exists or will be coming soon. I think this was a book. So I assume the training and the book, oh, look, it's got cards and exercise cards. So It's an ecosystem. Congratulations, ecosystems thinking people. You made an ecosystem that you can sell. No. Jason, thoughts? Darren, thoughts? My dog Olivia's here. Hello, Olivia. I'll take care of you after the show. I really believe that we have to stop renaming things that already exist. If this matches some aspect of user experience, whether that is a secondary user of the product like secondhand smoke, or if this is a customer experience thing, I think we already have names for this, and I think we already have a thing for this, so I'm not feeling it, but this article was so long and I didn't have patience for it. So if there's something good in here, I apologize. I may have missed it. You kind of lost me at when you wanted to battle about the word user, and then you wanted to battle user experience because it just didn't fit this one particular Texas sharpshooter cherry-picked case you had. Glenn says, perhaps they're trying to carve out their own unique niche by creating. Yeah, I think so. I think this is just a case of, well, we don't think user experience is good enough, so we're going to just make this new thing. Darren says blatheritis, inflammation of the blather. Yes, try calamine. Well, y'all are going to love the next thing I got, which was Jared Spool on Twitter. And I always do this show from a private browser, but good thing because Jared blocked me on Twitter last year, which is funny. I barely use Twitter. But I did tweet at him last year, and then he blocked me. So if y'all are wondering about my relationship with Jared, as we would say in Italian, sempre peggio. So this is Jared Spool tweeting just a few days ago, about a week ago, and it says, "It makes me smile when a product manager tells me they need a full-time researcher before they can do any research. I look them in the eyes and say, you're a full-time user researcher. All PMs are user researchers. Maybe not a good one. However, they can become one. User research is what PMs do. They identify what users and customers need. Why the product doesn't do that yet. What needs to change to make the user's life better. It's the most important part of their job. The great user research a PM has, the better their, I think he didn't proofread that. The great user research a PM has, the better their product will be. We've got 40 years of product management history to prove this. It's too bad the PM literature ignores this fact that user research is critical to great PM work. It would make their jobs so much easier. Too many PMs spend so much time compensating because they don't have a great, solid, research-informed understanding of their customers and users. All that time would be better spent growing their understanding. It would make their job so much easier. I love it when a PM says they need a researcher. It's because I can give them two incredibly valuable gifts, the gift of knowledge and the gift of time. It's one of the most awesome parts of my job. It's true that research done poorly can hurt the product, and it takes skill to do research well. However, the PM is already making critical product decisions with the research they have, often of poor quality. For many, from where they are today, the only direction is up. So the way that I take this, of course, there's a lot of ways that I take this, and I'm looking to hear from the live chat room. Number one, I don't think Jared is happy enough destroying UX, so it looks like he's really trying to get more nails in the coffin on his way out. Because, he's just getting old and crumbly, and I assume he's going to have to retire eventually, and I'm sure he's got enough money. So definitely kill it on the way out. He's spent many years pushing his everyone's a designer, and now he's pushing product managers are user researchers, and therefore they don't need a researcher. If you're having trouble getting a job as a UX researcher, and especially if you're in a company who says, we don't need to hire specialist UX researchers, we'll just quickly upskill product managers. Just remember who taught that to that company. Just remember who is helping. You want to talk about gatekeeping? Bitch, you're the gatekeeper. You want to talk about gatekeeping? Let's talk about a guy who pushes so hard on you don't need a researcher because everybody's a researcher. Maybe they're not good, but they can get better, and everybody's a researcher. And I think that this is dangerous to UX for the 240 people that agree with Jared and the 37 people who retweeted it. So I think that this is one of the continuously unfortunate things that Jared continues saying. When y'all ask me why I don't like him, I'll just refer you to this tweet, because this teaches companies they don't really need UX. They don't really need UX researchers. They just need to have product managers and other people do research jobs. And as you can see, he's very clear. User research is the most important part of a product manager's job, and they need to do more of it. Rajesh says, I think this is wrong. Well, I agree. This is completely wrong. Darren says, everyone's a designer. Folks later feel incompetent and later reach out to people like Jared to heal their sense of incompetency. That's how the machine works. Larry Marine says, scorecard baby, always validate someone's perspectives with their success history. Can anyone describe any stellar projects Jared takes credit for? Nope. He says, former USDS. What is that? Oh, US Digital Service. I don't even know what that means. Former? Did they dump you? What happened there? That's so many questions. So as usual, I'm strongly against Jared and pretty much everything he says and does. I appreciate the comments in the chat. And I believe that as part of our fight to keep UX alive, we unfortunately have to fight people like Jared, which is unfortunate because he claims to be one of us, but he's not. I've been saying for years now, if you see someone who is doing something that actively hurts the UX profession, UX jobs, UX understanding, UX respect, Jared might as well say, well, we don't need UX researchers, we've got marketing. And we don't really need UX designers. Engineers used to design systems. They can make screens. Just let them do that. It doesn't make sense. But I'll tell you what this signals to me. So I'm going to put my fake wager down, and y'all are going to have this on video on October 1st, 2021. Jared's going to start creating content for product managers. That's how I see this, because I'm always looking for the end game. I'm always looking for, why would he say this? What does he gain? Because Jared doesn't say anything without his gain. So my guess would be that he's going to start creating content for product managers. He's going to try to bring them into his walled garden with his monthly and annual fees and his webinars and so on. I believe that he's going to start creating content for product managers. He's going to create training for them, and he's going to go out there and make $30,000 a day, which is what I hear he makes, but I can't prove it, to teach companies that they kind of don't need UX, that, everybody's a designer. We just need to help them be better designers, and everybody's a researcher, and maybe they're not good now, but we just need to help them be better. And with Jared's training, he can help your product managers be better researchers. Now, I completely undid that whole thing. Sorry about my dog freaking out. I completely undid that whole thing in episode 115. So don't forget to go into the live stream podcasts playlist, as Olivia reminds you, and see episode 115 for why that isn't the right way for us to go and why UX can't be quickly upskilled. It's not like just learn pivot tables in Excel. Madalena says, hey everyone, it ain't Friday Reaction if it doesn't have pearls of wisdom. I know, almost every Friday, usually we have Joe Natoli. This time someone sent Jared Spool, and of course, always a pleasure. So moving on, no dogs for Jared. He doesn't deserve one of my dogs, really. Okay, so Jared, so sorry to see that you are still looking to sell us out for the dollars you can put in your pocket. I look forward to when you retire, or if you ever decide to do the right thing by the industry you claim to be a part of. Until then, we disown you. All right, speaking of people we should disown, here's IDF. Also, not using good principles of UX. It's the typical pop-up, join our mailing list, typical, you can get our free ebook if you give us your email. And of course, it's pre-checked off that you're going to be on the mailing list and so on. I noticed there's no link to terms and conditions, so you might not really know what's happening. And of course, that would also mean no GDPR policy, which is interesting because aren't they in Denmark? So this says designing the smallest possible thing. Now, this was interesting to me because I do have a slide that I do, a few slides actually, that I do when I speak to engineers and at Agile and Lean conferences and DevOps conferences. And I talk about what is the smallest thing UX can build. Because obviously in the face of Agile or fake Agile or Lean or fake Lean, we're being told to do less and less and minimum everything, minimum whatever. And I do a bunch of slides about how, to us, the minimum thing that we can build, if it is a feature or a product and not just a small fix, the minimum thing we can build is the user's task or workflow. I can't really build half a checkout. I can't really build half a checkout, give it to engineering, say, go ahead and start building this, and I'll just build the other half. That doesn't work because I'm going to need to usability test the whole flow, the whole task. Let's talk about Boeing and their Starliner, where they decided they didn't want to do end-to-end testing and they thought they'd test it in pieces, and they thought that went well, and then they found altogether it didn't work. So I always try to tell engineers and others that the smallest thing UX can build, again, when it's not a small fix or small improvement, is the user's task or workflow. Glenn says, I stopped my subscription with IDF, lost all my links to completed courses, just like them with a passion. Yeah, we've been trying to warn people that if you do cancel IDF, print out or screenshot or keep your course completion things because they love to erase them. And I think they don't even tell you that's going to happen. I can't remember. So anyway, that is my perspective on designing the smallest possible thing. So to me, the smallest possible thing is the user's task or workflow. If it is sell your item on Etsy, that's it. I got to design that whole page. I can't design a quarter of that page. That's not the right way to go. I know Agile thinks we should do that because they like to cut things into smaller pieces, engineers being they, but we're different. We just are. And that's okay. Agile was not supposed to be for us. It was supposed to be for engineers. So what does Laura say, who I don't know? I don't think I know her. Laura Klein, I don't know her. Anyway, so no positive or negative thoughts out of the gate for Laura Klein, don't know her. But anyway, I did skim through this earlier, and you'll find that she basically starts out by saying we're going to have to design something small pretty much because of Agile and minimum viable products. And so then I'll tell you the part, because I skimmed this earlier. So of course, minimum viable product. Small isn't just mishmash, small is useful. So, okay, how do you design small? Where was the thing that I saw? Start without code, don't deliver to everybody. There was something I saw here that I wanted to point out. Let's see. I can't remember where I found this, but it did appear that that she was. Let's go through this. Break things down into shippable chunks, deliver value early and often, get feedback on ideas before sinking tons of resources. That doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, but that's why we have usability testing. We don't have to really ship it to the public. We can do this all through the UX process, and I'm not sure if she's advising that or not. And if you do it really badly, then so again, it's hard for me to comment on this because I'm not sure I agree. And I can't find the piece that I read earlier. Did anyone read this one before? Larry says, IDF asked me to present a course on knowledge design, then tried to tell me how to present it, including the content to use. Like they know how to design knowledge into a product. Oh God, no, they don't. I'm glad you walked away from that. I having trouble remembering the part of this article that I had a problem with, because I did skim this earlier and I wasn't pleased with it. And now I don't remember what my problem with it was. Design small, discrete things that still fit into a greater product vision and don't sacrifice quality. I thought we were already doing that, so I'm not too sure what this is other than a plug for their Design for Agile course. And who knows what that says, because if she's going to take the same approach Jared Spool took, I'm not for it. Anyway, I'm just going to move on. Let's move on. Darren said, someone teaching at an IDF seminar left the topic and began raving about a particular ex-president for several minutes. When I reached out to IDF to express concern, they blew me off. Yeah, well, let's not get started on IDF. Okay, so this is a LinkedIn post from Carl. Now, you all send these things in anonymously. My gut says that Carl sent this in. But it doesn't matter who sent this in. Let's see what we think of it. Oh, Glenn says, I saw Joe Natoli had a huge public spat with IDF about a book they were selling on a site they bought. Glenn, I thought Joe was a bit no class for airing his legal disagreement with IDF on LinkedIn and Twitter and asking his fans to fight it with and for him. I don't like IDF, but I thought Joe's move there was unprofessional. All right, let's read Carl's stuff, and I'd like to hear Darren and Larry and Glenn, Madalena, Rajesh, everybody who's here today. Destiny, if you're still here, I want to hear what you think of this. So Carl is not, I think my impression is Carl is not in UX yet. That's from a message I got from him. So this says, some thoughts on academics in the humanities and social science transitioning into UX and product. Okay, so that's, hey, you academic people trying to transition into UX. If you've done exploratory research, you've done discovery. If you've written an outline, you've made a wireframe. If you've written a syllabus, you've done journey mapping. If you've made a PowerPoint for a lecture or presentation, you've visualized data. If you were mindful of assigning, I don't know how people want me to pronounce that. I'm never too sure how to pronounce that. Am I Black and Indigenous and people of color and female scholars in your courses? You've done inclusive design. A PhD is more than a degree. It is demonstrated evidence of rigorous training, experience, and knowledge that is both deep and wide. Does anybody want to comment on this before I say something? And first of all, of course, he had 12 comments from people with PhDs cheering this. So it comes off a little bit clickbaity to me, like, wrong one. Rah, rah, rah. Did I hit the clickbait button? Yes, good. Rah, rah, rah. Hey, PhDs, we can do this. However, I would have to say that I nearly 100% disagree with Carl on this. So if you've done exploratory research, you've done exploratory research. That doesn't mean you've done UX discovery or CX discovery. It doesn't mean that you've used the UX process or UX techniques and approaches to do UX or product or service related discovery. You might have done exploratory research in an academic or laboratory setting or something like that, and it might not look like UX work at all. Madalena says, anyone who's done an academic paper knows UX. Not sure how to interpret this. Darren says, it's a bias fest. Next, if you've written an outline, you've made a wireframe. Definitely not. If you've written an outline, you've written an outline. So just because you've put that would be like saying if you've written an outline, you're now an information architecture expert. No, you're not. So if you've written an outline, you've written an outline. I also don't know if you've written an outline well. Remember, none of these indicated that you've done any of these things well. It just says if you've done it, you've done this other thing. So if you've written an outline, you have not made a wireframe. A wireframe is a very specific thing. A wireframe is a sketch or digital drawing of sorts of a screen or interface or interaction. You can all define wireframe maybe better than I can. It is not an outline. It just isn't. These two things aren't the same thing. Darren says, this is a bias fest and an act of desperation. I've spoken with folks in PhD spaces trying to make themselves relevant in UX and advised them against taking a stance of entitlement. I agree. Yeah. Now, Larry said those who can do and those who can't teach. Darren disagrees, and I disagree too, because I, like Darren, am a doer and a teacher. So I hate that old saying that says those who can do and those who can't teach, because there's a few of us in the room right now who can do and can teach. So Larry, cut that out of your what's the word I'm looking for? Help, repertoire. All right. Glenn says, I have opened Figma. I am a UI expert. Madalena says, if I can plate my dinner, I'm a visual designer. It's close, Madalena. If you've written a syllabus, you've done journey mapping. Again, these, this is not, we've got 9th grade logic here. This is not P equals Q. If you've written a syllabus, you have written a syllabus. You have organized a course, and you have decided what you're going to teach in what ways, in what amounts of time. If you've written a syllabus, you have not done journey mapping. Good journey mapping comes after observational and or interview-based qualitative research. So you have not done a journey map. You have mapped out the flow of an academic course or educational course, but you have not done a user or customer journey map or task analysis or jobs to be done. You just haven't. Solomon says, if you own a computer, you're an HCI expert. Larry says, but you guys are the exception, not the rule. Only in the world of boot camps, Larry, where those who couldn't get a UX job teach in some cases, not all. I need something like Ling Ling Insurance. Do you guys watch Two Set Violin on YouTube? They're so great. Two Set Violin, every time they say something that might be a little bit fiery or opinionated that could get them in trouble, they put up this graphic that says Ling Ling Insurance, because Ling Ling is this recurring character in their YouTube shows. I feel like I need a Ling Ling Insurance thing. Darren says, well, there is a hint of truth to Larry's statement. However, in that some cannot do are experts at falling back on teaching when they can't succeed elsewhere. Maybe that's where the saying comes from. Madalena says, congrats for having a PhD. It is really admirable. I won't say congrats for trying to say tomatoes and pineapples are the same thing. Yeah, if you've made a PowerPoint, you've visualized data. Not necessarily. Many PowerPoints just have bullet points and words on them. Many PowerPoints are terrible. So you have not visualized data. What data would that be? Where did you get it from? And how did you know the right way to visualize it? And if you had diversity in your courses, you've done inclusive design. No, you haven't. Again, you can only use the reflexive property on itself here. If you were mindful of diversity in your courses, you were mindful of diversity in your courses. You still might have messed it up. So anyway, I tend to reject this, and I've been sent a couple of other ones like this in the past where people tried to take whatever they worked in and tried to say it really was UX. And time after time, I'm just going to disagree with these. Now, interestingly enough, I had a lovely conversation today with someone who was a behavioral analyst and was looking to shift into UX. I think there's going to be some overlap there, but I wouldn't say that just because someone has a PhD in anything on the mofo planet that they've done something that looks like UX. I agree with Darren that it does look desperate. And remember, no one is probably going to agree with you other than you'll get 78 likes from other PhDs. It's just unfortunate. So the way into UX is not to fake it by trying to make it sound like you have experience in what we do. It would be better to have humility and to be a low ego action hero and say, I'm a career transitioner right now. I have a lot to learn. There are some things I'm already good at. I have maturity. I'm scientific. I'm intelligent, but there's a lot I still have to learn. And if I want to move into UX, I'm going to learn it. So that's what I think. I think this is a time for humility and not a time to make it sound like, yeah, I'm already doing UX. So where's my UX job? I saw this one, someone commented on one of my YouTube videos many months ago, and they said they had 16 years of experience working in it was either a university or academic or research laboratory, and they felt that that was quite similar to UX research. So where's their UX job? And they were quite serious. And my thought was, no, you don't get a UX job yet. So sorry, Carl, no dogs here. If you'd like to talk about this, I'm happy to talk to you. But I don't agree with this, and I believe that it minimizes UX. If any PhD is now a UX practitioner, you've just made UX meaningless. You've made the learning we do meaningless. You've made the practice we do meaningless, because you're just saying, if you've got a PhD, you can just sail into this other thing. And that's unfortunate. That's going to get you unfollows. You know, I don't think that's going to, you'll be followed by PhDs and unfollowed by UX people. Darren says, sadly, being a PhD revolves around dedication to proof. The person that wrote that statement is hypothesizing and needs to evaluate before rallying his troops. I agree. Darren knows it. All right, let's move on. We got 20 minutes left if we make it to an hour. Okay, I got sent this TED Talk by Kristen Berman. Now, it's got a little bit of a clickbaity title, but I have to say I liked the talk. I'm going to give it lots of dogs. Let's give it 4 dogs. I did like this talk. You can check it out on the YouTube. Don't listen to your customers. Do this instead. Kristen Berman, TEDx Berlin. And then after I watched this, I put 2 and 2 together. Somebody had sent me Kristen's courses in one of our long live streams reviewing courses. I didn't go back and check. I think I had given it 3 dogs because I couldn't totally make sense of who was teaching it. And basically it was like a little bit of a behavioral economics boot camp. She was calling it like an online behavioral economics video and text course. And but the TED Talk made me feel more interested in her and put the course into a little bit more perspective. So I decided, and super not sponsored, let's put this up on the screen, I decided to pay for her course. So I am taking her course now. That is not sponsored and that is not a recommendation. I paid for her course. I'm going to take her course. And if I like her course, I promise to let everybody know. I think I'm only 10 or 15%, 10% into it, barely 10% into it. The problem is that it's on a drip. So I finished the first bunch of lessons and I wanted to get into the next lessons, and it said, you'll get the next lessons in 6 days. So people who make online courses, I understand that sometimes you want people to take your stuff in a certain order and not skip around, but you can program your learning management system to unlock courses when they finish the previous one. If I finish all of chapter 2, just open up chapter 3. Don't make me wait a week for chapter 3. I might lose my momentum. And that's kind of funny for a behavioral economics course. You don't want me to lose my momentum, right? So a little bit awkward there, but I promise I will go through it and maybe write her. And, I would ask her to do it, but I don't know if whatever LMS she's using has the power for her to go in and manually turn that off. But I will, I'll certainly request it in a few days. I've got some deadlines coming up, so I should focus on that. So, okay, moving on. This is a Medium article, and it's from a few days ago. And the question that the person sent with this article was, would this article be a good research case for a research portfolio? Now, I realized after I skimmed the article that I didn't fully understand the question. So this is the downside to the reaction stream submissions. And of course, you can send yours to deltacx.link/reaction for next week. The downside is that I can't write you back and be like, what do you mean? So in short, I am not sure if the question is asking, do I like the format of this as a case study, or do I like the research this person did as sample research people should do if they're looking to add to their portfolio. I kind of didn't get it. Rajesh says IDF does this by locking next sessions with predefined date. Yeah, I understand locking next sessions if you want to make sure people go through your course in order, but I don't understand, like, now wait a week for the next lessons. If someone really wants to keep taking my course, I'd like to let them. Also, I have a way in my learning management system, which is Teachable, #not-sponsored. I pay them $1,000 a year. I have a way to say, like, if someone wants a certificate of completion, I can go into your account, and I can see if you watched all of my videos all the way through. And then if you didn't, I could say, sorry, I only give certificate of completion to people who complete it. So again, why make me wait a week? So again, I'm not too sure about this question, but let's take a look. So this is somebody writing saying they decided to invite 6 users to perform a concept evaluation test to capture their perception of a prototype. I have to tell you, I immediately saw red flags when I saw that written, because typically when I am thinking about concept testing or concept evaluation or usability testing, I'm usually not thinking about perception. I'm usually thinking like, am I solving the user's problems? Did I meet my original goals for this feature or improvement or whatever? Did I make the task better, faster, more efficient? Let's go through Larry's 4. Less cognitive load, less manually intensive, less error prone, and with knowledge design built in. Micro lesson coming. And so I don't want to just, I don't like to just take people's temperature about a concept. And so I was a little worried about what they meant by the perception of the concept, because I don't believe that good UX evaluative testing is, did you like it? Or what do you think of it? Or, hey, did you notice these buttons on the bottom? What do you think they mean? I don't find that to be good research. So let's take a look at what they did. The UX research was briefed on a research initiative. We had to test a concept that was going to be implemented in the app. The app's bottom nav was redrawn to include an expansive menu. An expansive menu is not a common feature in this market segment, so what do we think? So this is what this person did, and this is Brazil. And so what will this read? Can the users understand the expansive nav bar? Will they embrace this change and adopt it? Can users make sense of names and images in the menu? Are designers making changes and using terminology that best suits the user? Are users interested in a floating button feature on the homepage of the app? So it sounds like they might have used Material Design's floating button thing, and they were worried people wouldn't get it. Though if they're Android users, they should get it. But again, let's see. 6 sessions of an hour. Do not do group session. Concept evaluation through context analysis. Though this wasn't the ideal model for tests, it was feasible. So that's a little weird. Why didn't you use what is the ideal model, and why didn't you use it? So again, if this were a possible case study or portfolio project, I would hope the storytelling would tell me what is the ideal model and why didn't you use it? Because I don't understand just from reading this why they didn't use a better way to test. But I mean, so far in general, as a case study, I think it's written okay. I understand the background of the project. I understand what the person did. I understand a little context about this being an unfamiliar paradigm for the users. I understand some of the things they were looking for. So from a storytelling perspective, I think this format is nice. I'm open to comments from the chat room if you all disagree. Now they have to find the set of users. So this is your recruiting. And this is who they wanted, so that makes sense. Again, a few bullet points, bang, bang, bang. Let me quickly skim this and get the main idea, because if I'm looking at a case study or a portfolio, I'm just trying to see, do you know what you're doing, and do I want to interview you? So yeah, looks like this person seems to know what they're doing. So a bit of the script. What apps do you consider easy to use, and why do you find that app easy to use? Okay. in which part of your navigation do you use the search bar? If this is the actual question they asked, I think that's a little bit of inside baseball. A lot of people don't necessarily think of these things as navigation. I'm not sure users use that term. So, and I'm not sure what it means to say in which part of your, so I think they mean when you're using an app, when do you tend to use a search? So again, you're asking people to just broadly judge that, but that's really hard. I'd probably narrow that down. That seems a little too broad. Oh yeah, I've got a call in 10 minutes. I gotta go. All right, so ultimately, so again, I think in general, this person's storytelling and breakup of stuff is decent as a case study. But let's see. And they found that they got a lot more information than they expected to, which I don't know why they didn't expect to, because you always get more information. But where was the part where I was a little bit like, oh yeah, this one. What is your perception of this menu format? Do you feel you can understand the menu at first sight, or do you feel the extra info click would be useful? What do you believe the app will do when you click extra info? I thought that these were not good UX research questions. I typically don't draw people's attention to a particular thing and say, what's your perception of this thing? And did you think you could understand it at first sight? I think a lot of people would want to say yes, even if they don't, because they don't want to feel stupid. And then you don't want to give them a double barrel question of, do you feel you can understand the menu at first sight, or do you feel the extra info click would be useful? First of all, that's two questions. And second of all, they're not really ors. They could both be true. Maybe I can understand the menu. Maybe something that says extra info would be useful. But again, extra info and not being able to see this sounds like it's a tooltip of some sort. And if you think something is not logical and intuitive, you've got to redesign it and make it better, not fill it with explanations and tutorials and tooltips and pop-ups and extra info and knowledge base and ask for help. So I didn't love these questions. So all in all, I felt that this looked like an okay format for a case study and pretty good storytelling, but I'm not sure I liked some of the choices this person made as a researcher. But then again, I don't know if something happened where they had to ask that, where someone forced them to ask that. That's where storytelling can help. I can't tell from reading this if this person thought these were really excellent questions to ask, or if someone made them ask them. Anybody in the chat room have any feelings on this? Am I being too harsh on these questions, or, how do you feel about this? And in general, I kind of take what I think would be Larry's approach, which would be, if you want to know how people feel about this new navigation, just ask them to find things inside the app. Hi, how would you get to your account? See if they figure out the new navigation. Okay, now I've got another task for you. How would you buy a blah, blah, blah? Okay, let's see how they use the navigation. Now you have to check out your rewards points balance. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't have to ask them, what do you think of this menu? I just have to give them tasks and see if they can accomplish those tasks and make sense of that menu. So, I don't know. Glenn says, the way questions are worded, is it the researcher's second language? Maybe. I mean, they could be from Brazil, but I'm still assuming their English is quite excellent. So I'm assuming that they did ask, what is your perception of this menu format? And again, that seems like a strange way to ask something. Glenn says, these questions are a little bit leading. Yeah, that's how I felt. So all in all, I think the presentation of this information is okay, though I think some of the MC Escher images to break it up are unnecessary and irrelevant. I think that having images to break up some of a case study or a portfolio project, having images when it's research can break this up. But I always think that unless this is highly confidential, there's got to be something that you can show that you did that isn't MC Escher artwork. Can you show an anonymized something about your recruiting pool with, that's been anonymized so I can't see who these people are? Can you show me anything about your planning? Can you show me anything about your affinity diagramming for your analysis? Can you show me one slide from your presentation with your final report? So I think that the images looked a little bit weird. But they're saying, well, it illustrates that it's users' perception. But I found the images distracting. Escher can be pretty distracting. So all in all, that's what I thought of it. Anybody in the chat room have any other opinions they would like to share? Glenn says, I'd like to see project-specific imagery. Yeah, exactly. Me too. I would like to see something related to the project, a screenshot of a Miro board, even if you have to blur some stuff or take the shot from really far out so people can't read some of the specific comments. Anything that you can show that's relevant to your work and not just random artwork. So anyway, I've got a call in 5 minutes. I've got to run. But thanks to everybody for hanging out for the reaction stream. And of course, remember that you can subscribe here on the YouTube channel. I hope you will. I'm trying to get up to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, purely for vanity, no other reason. And you can send stuff in for me to react to at deltacx.link/reaction. And of course, we will be back next week with more shows. On Monday, we'll have Sophie Freiermuth talking about the hidden project and product management in UX. Look out, Jared Spool. Tuesday will be Office Hours, Ask Me Anything with special guest Stephanie Walter. Wednesday the 6th, my micro lesson on disaster customer journey maps and how they might be able to help you convince people to not give the customers a disaster. Friday reaction stream. Monday the 11th, I'll be reading my new article and getting your reactions about being feature-oriented versus task-oriented. Tuesday the 12th will be Office Hours Ask Us Anything with Darren and hopefully Dr. Nick as well. I hope everybody can still make that appointment. And let's see, Wednesday the 13th will be our Delta CX Slack monthly networking adventure in AirMeet. The details are always in Slack, so join there if you'd like to be part of that. And that takes us halfway into October. So I am going to run. And thanks to everybody again for a fun reaction stream. Have a great weekend. Please continue to wear masks and be safe. It's really important wherever you are to stay as healthy as you can and stay safe. And I will catch everybody Monday. See you in Slack and have a great weekend. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are